Hello guys, welcome to Study IQ. I'm Safir. In this session, we are going to start a new module and I'll be talking about industrial policy. So the module will be industry, and the first topic that we are going to deal with is various industrial policies since independence from 1948 actually. Okay, so industrial policies. So we will be starting with the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948. There is nothing much to discuss, but what I'll do is I'll go in that order so that you will get the clarity till 1991. In this session, I'll be talking about industrial policies till 1991. So the first one I'll be discussing is Industrial Policy Resolution. Industrial Policy Resolution 1948. So that's where we have made it very clear that this is going to be a mixed economy. We are not going to have a capitalist setup, nor we are going to have a pure socialist setup, completely controlled or regulated by government, right? So that is not going to be there. And in fact, we prefer to have a mixed setup. So if you look into the progress that since independence, we are always a mixed economy. Even now we are a mixed economy. So mixed economy means we have the elements of both capitalism as well as socialism, right? So, but if you see till 1991, although we are a mixed economy, we had a tilt towards socialism. So till 1991, mixed economy with a tilt towards socialism. Government control was very high, and then there are a lot of licensing, nationalization policies, etc. Post 91 onwards, especially after that structural adjustment facility and all, Washington Consensus, LPG, right? So we have again a mixed economy, but a tilt towards capitalism. But again, what happened is, we have opened up the economy, and we are expecting that when we open up the economy, that growth will be high, investments will come, right, and trickle down will happen. But it never happened. In fact, it will take time, obviously, for the trickle down to happen. And contrary to our expectation, what we were expecting is we will get a lot of employment opportunity. So we were expecting some kind of labor intensive investments, but what has happened is the capital intensive investments has come. So in fact, instead of increasing employment opportunities, it have decreased. So what has happened is the unemployment situation in the country is increased rather than decrease, right? That was our expectation. Because of that, poverty have increased, inequality have increased. Those who have money, they have started making more and more. So inequality situation have increased. So by the mid of 2000s, government have realized that intervention of government is required, because that time, that phase around 15 years, government intervention was very, very less. You are leaving everything to private, right? You are leaving everything to market. And many times I've discussed about this. When you keep on giving things to market is not going to solve the problems, social problems, right? So market is going to take care of people who have money, right? So only if you have a demand, there will be supply. And for demand, you need to have willingness to buy, and you must have capability to buy. Mere willingness to buy will not create demand in the market. You should be I may be in need of food. I'm very happy to get food. I'm willing to get food. I may be a beggar. I'm very happy to get food, but I'm not capable of getting food. I don't have money. Nobody is going to produce food for me, right? So market will not take care of these social aspect. You leave everything to market by expecting that trickle down will happen and everything. It may happen, but it may take hundreds of years. So by that time, our poverty, inequality situations will become very high. So that we have discussed already. Initially, this inequality, poverty, all will increase actually. But over a period of time, it will decrease. Why? Because all these things will be trickle down. Government will get taxes, and slowly, employment opportunities will be created. Government can start schools, educational institutions, hospitals, etc. So that trickle down will take a lot of time. So it will go like this. Inequality will go like this. Initially, inequality will increase, then it will come down. So we don't have that much time to wait, right? 91, by 2005 itself, the situation was so bad, and you can see post 2005 onwards, strategies have slightly changed. Government intervention have increased, coming up with programs like MGNREGA, Food Security Act, Forest Act, etc. Okay, so I just mentioned about this when I just told about mixed economy. So one of the feature of this one, when I talk about industrial policy resolution 1948, it's a mixed economy. And the other important point is small scale industries need to be promoted. That you can see in the initial policies and initial 5-year plans also, they're focusing more on small scale industries. Okay. And then obviously restriction on foreign investment, because we will not be able to compete with the foreign investment. So to protect the domestic industries and small scale industries, we need some restriction on foreign investment. And slowly and gradually, this restrictions will be lifted. We can't do it all together. You will see 40% FDI ceiling, then 50% FDI ceiling, like that. And now 100% FDI ceiling is like that. You will come across that. Okay, so over a period of time, it will be lifted. So now foreign investment has been restricted. So that's the first one. What are the three key features which I have discussed? Mixed economy, small scale industries, and foreign investment related. Second is the most important one. In fact, it is known as the Economic Constitution of India. What is that? Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. So Industrial Policy Resolution 1948, that broad thing, I hope you understood. Now, Industrial Policy Resolution 1956 is the most important one, and this is the guiding principle till 1991. So till 1991, this is the mother, this is the base, and this is what we call as Economic Constitution of India. Okay, so if you want, you can just write in the bracket also Economic Constitution of India. And you can write one more line. It laid the basic framework for industrial policy, which was pursued in the entire pre-reform era. That means till 1991, this is the policy which we followed. So we have already discussed, if you have watched the planning module that we have done, I think I've taken 3 videos, and in that planning I've completely covered. Second 5-year plan onwards, we are focusing more on industries, heavy industries, industrialization, Nehru-Mahalanobis model, and all those things I have covered already. So I'm not going to get into that details, which we have already covered. It is going to be a repetition. Okay, guys. So, or I can go with the features. There's nothing much to discuss here. If you look into the features, I can quickly discuss that. Now, rather than writing, I can just talk about that. So who's going to play the key role here? It is a public sector who's going to play the key role, because public sector development is very much required for the growth of the country at that point of time. When I talk about public sector, we're going to talk about heavy industries, because private sector don't have enough capability to go with heavy industries. You need money, you need raw material, you need resources, you need the capital, you need that big heavy machines, right? So private sector is not confident, nor they have money. So the government have to do this. You need heavy industries. So who will play the major role in the growth process? It has to be the public sector. Okay, so public sector to play key role. I'll just write public sector to play the key role in the industrial development, because you need heavy industries for heavy machines, for that heavy capital required, and private is not willing to invest that heavy. So government have to take up this responsibility. So you will see public sector will be playing the key role. Now, industries were classified into 3 categories. I'll talk about the 3 categories also. Schedule A, it is a public sector, industries. Schedule A industries. There were 17 public sector industries, means Schedule A industries, and then Schedule B industries, that is mixed, private and public. So that is mixed, and there were 12. And then third category is the Schedule C. So that is obviously going to be the private sector. So that's around, obviously there is nothing to count rest of the industries. Okay, so this is the 3 categories of industries. And private sector obviously will be regulated, right, through industrial licensing policy. And this licensing policy, we will be talking about this MRTP Act and everything in the coming sessions. And even today also, if possible, I'll be mentioning about that. And later it was replaced with a competition commission instead of MRTP commission, because there were a lot of abuse. And MRTP companies, it's like, rather than regulating them, it is a kind of punishment and penalizing them. So that was not considered fair. And then we have passed the Competition Act, and Competition Commission is now going to monitor all the company, not only MRTP company. MRTP, that is to avoid this monopoly. I'll talk about that. That the beginning of that is actually from this licensing policy. So there were some industrial licensing policy, and then it was actually looking for coordinated development of both private and public sector. But public sector have to play the key role. The reason is you need heavy industries like iron industries, heavy industries. Who's going to spend for that? It is a public sector who have the capability to spend at that point of time. Private sector won't have that capability, right? Again, obviously, small scale industries to be promoted and the restriction on foreign investment have continued. The same as that of Industrial Policy Resolution 1948. Okay, now in 1977, there was Industrial Policy Statement. So, Industrial Policy Statement. So, in that decentralization of industry, you can just write it down. Industrial Policy Statement 1977, decentralization of industry. Now, FDI's ceiling was kept at 40%. This you can see now, later it will be 50%. Then it is going to be, for some sectors, it is going to be 100% also, opening up it completely. Okay, like that. So this is the third one, right? Now the fourth one is going to be Industrial Policy Statement, the same Industrial Policy Statement 1980. So here you can see selective liberalization of industrial policy. So like I have talked about licensing, right? So the licensing norms will be liberalized. Just write selective liberalization of industrial policy, and licensing norms will be liberalized, like broad banding of industries. That means if you have a license for motorcycle, you can make both motorcycle and cycle, right? So like all the two-wheelers, that's what I'm talking about, scooter, or there is no need of separate licenses. Okay, then as I've told you, MRTP Act also liberalized, and industrial imports were promoted. So imports were actually promoted, MRTP liberalized. What is MRTP? What kind of liberalization came, and how it is replaced with Competition Act and Competition Commission instead of MRTP Commission? We will be discussing that in a separate session. That in itself have a lot of content that I cannot deal in this session. So I'm just saying industrial policy, in that what happened. Okay, guys. So MRTP Act was liberalized and industrial imports were promoted. Now the next is the most important one. What is that? 1991, right? So the new industrial policy. New industrial policy 1991. So it is the most important component of economic reform. It is based on the policy of LPG. So you guys know the context of this already if you have attended the session on Forex crisis 1991 and the planning module also. So after the 8th plan, I mean, in 1990, we had this issue of Forex crisis. We were not able to even pay the bill of 2 weeks bill we are not able to pay. So that was the pathetic condition. And for that, there are many reasons also. There are domestic reasons. There are obviously domestic reason, inflation was there. Government, around 3 government have come at that point of time. So that is no stability in the government, that is issue. Then for, external issues was also there. Disintegration of USSR affected us very, very badly. Oil crisis affected us very badly. And foreign remittances have reduced. So Gulf War, all these were issues. Let's not get into that. But this is a context, and then we have suffered a lot. And then we have had the discussion with IMF and World Bank. And finally, we have signed this Washington Consensus. And under that, we have devalued our currency. Why I'm saying devaluation, not depreciation, because at that time we were following fixed exchange rate system, not floating or flexible. If it is fixed, it is devaluation and revaluation. If it is floating, it is depreciation and appreciation. So from 18 to 24 to promote import so that we'll get the Forex. And also they have suggested to go for LPG. They have come up with various other suggestions also. So for some important reforms and some futuristic reforms. That's what we have discussed as structural adjustment facility, right? Structural adjustment programs, SAP. It was implemented, like reforms in banking sector, tax reforms, etc. Okay, so from there onwards, industrial policy also have changed. So what they're looking for, most importantly, you have to improve the efficiency of industrial sector by providing greater market orientation and competitive stimulus. Guys, when I talk about efficiency, it is the cost of production of one unit. When we see the cost of production of one unit of an Indian company, and if you compare it with an MNC, the foreign company, it's so high, you can see that difference. Like one product, let's say this pen will cost, for an Indian company, it may cost around 10 rupee, but for a foreign company, it will cost you 7 rupee. And the Indian company is selling it at like with a profit of 5, and you are selling it at 15 rupee. Foreign companies, since the cost of production is so low, they produce in massive numbers also by using economies of scale, and they just need 1 rupee profit, because you can produce huge amount as well, and they will be able to sell it at 8 rupees. So you can see almost double the price. So at least, even if these guys are selling it at 1 rupee profit like MNC is doing, still you have to sell in the market for 11 rupee. But these guys can do the same in 8 rupee. So this situation has to be managed. So to bring efficiency, you have to promote MNCs for an investment over a period of time. Not immediately. If immediately you are going to allow them completely, people will only buy this 8 rupee product. So what will happen? Domestic industries will be completely wiped out. That you never want to happen. Okay, now the features, if you look into, what are the main features? FDI ceiling increase from 40 to 51. I've told you last time it was 40, then 51, then it will go up and up like that. And some industries, some sectors, you'll be getting 100% now. Okay, so 51 in selected high priority industries. Now then, that is the first one, FDI ceiling to 51% in selected industry, selected sectors. Second, foreign investment promotion board was established as a single window FDA approval authority under finance ministry. So foreign investment promotion board, so that things will go faster, right? Single window approval authority, but members will be from various ministry. It is under finance ministry, members will come from various ministry. And 2017-18 budget, I think this got, I don't remember exact year, 2017-18, this got abolished, because now its importance have decreased, right? There is two routes, automatic route and approval route. So approval route means you need the government route, you need the approval. Mostly now in the automatic route. Only few selective sectors coming with the approval route with the government. So now the third one, automatic approval was provided to technology transfer subject to ceiling on royalty. So automatic approval, you can just write one line. Automatic approval was provided to technology transfer agreements subject to a ceiling on royalty. We need technology. So technology transfer agreements, we need a ceiling on royalty. We can't give everything as royalty, right? I hope you know what is royalty, what is patent, and all those things. That's something we need to discuss later if you don't know. So we can't keep on paying royalty. There should be some limit on royalty. It's just that you gave the technology, endlessly we are going to pay royalty to them. No. If that is the case, it's not like a technology transfer, right? Then we should keep some restriction. So here, there will be a ceiling, because they also should get something which they have innovated. But at the same time, that should be at the cost of us. That should not be at the cost of exploiting us endlessly, permanently. There should be a ceiling, and then you are allowing that automatic approval. Just write it, guys. Okay, next one. Phased manufacturing program was abolished. Just write it. Under phased manufacturing program, government used to impose a condition on foreign firms using imported inputs, that such firms have to gradually reduce the imports and finally eliminate the use of imports. So foreign firms can import the inputs, but you have to reduce it gradually, and finally you have to use it from domestic source. So that is a phased manufacturing program. Okay, that was abolished. Now, delicensing. All industries were delicensed except 18 industries. Okay, now 5 industries need license. That time 18 industries, except that everything was delicensed. Guys, I'm not preparing a PPT because it is going to take a lot of time and effort for me. That's the reason why I'm not preparing. So you can take it down, whatever you feel like important, and I don't think that's my duty anyway. So now you need 5 sectors. 5 sectors need licensing. What are they? Like alcohol, narcotics, cigarette and tobacco. Second one, cigarette and tobacco. Third one, industrial explosives. Fourth one, hazardous chemicals. And fifth one, defense and electronic aerospace. defense and electronic, aerospace. So these are the 5 which you need license now. Now, what is the next feature? I'm talking about 1991 policy. Locational licensing policy was liberalized. Okay, so what is locational licensing policy? It was actually required only by polluting industries which were to be located within 25-kilometer periphery of a city having population of 1 million or more. Okay, so having population of 1 million or more, it is required to get some permission and all, to get licensing. So locational licensing policy was liberalized if you need to start within 25 kilometers in a city which is having more than 1 million population. And it is for polluting industries. Okay. Now next is MRTP Act was liberalized. MRTP Act was liberalized. So what is this act? Monopoly Restrictive and Trade Practices Act. You can understand it from the name itself. It was in 1969. Monopoly restrictive. So to restrict the monopoly. See, some companies can take monopoly, right? See, imagine if Airtel was not there. In that geostorm, in that tsunami, everybody is gone. Even the BSNL is gone, right? Almost gone. Vodafone is gone. Ideas, where are they now? No one is there. Only Airtel was there. Imagine if Airtel was not there. Even now, Jio's increasing, Airtel is. Now it is a kind of collaboration. Both are thinking of exploiting us only. But otherwise, Jio, if only Jio was there, then that is going to be a monopoly, right? So the rates would have been so high now. Whatever they have given free at that point of time would have been taken back from us by now. Because we are habituated that we need to use this much every day and we can't stay without that. So, okay, so you understood what is monopoly now. So that situation is what monopoly. So under this act, the companies having assets beyond certain limit, like initially it was 20 crore, was classified as MRTP companies. So, and these companies need to be regulated. And this was actually increased to 200 crore later. So those who have this limit, right, under this companies having a asset of this much is classified as MRTP companies and will be regulated by MRTP Commission. Why? To safeguard this monopoly. Okay. Now this was actually 100 crore, I think in 1991, this limit was 100 crore. So certain restrictions were imposed on such companies and their activities are rigidly regulated by MRTP Commission. Now, instead of MRTP Commission, now we have Competition Commission. Instead of MRTP Act, now we have Competition Act. If you want, I can talk about that evolution also. Like what is that? Okay. In 1991, like this industrial policy, the threshold was like 100 crore for MRTP companies, and that was actually abolished. Guys, if you see, the market share of these companies is more than 25%. So there is a possibility if they do some malpractice and that is not going to be competitive. Like Jio, if they do something, it is not going to be competitive because no one is there to compete with them. Now Airtel is there. If not, no one is there to compete with him, right? So that is going to affect the masses, the people. So it need to be regulated rigidly and strictly. So that was the idea. But that led to a lot of problems as well. If you remember, I've talked about licensing policy, right? The licensing, which Industrial Development and Regulation Act, there was one Industrial Development and Regulation Act in 1951. In that, this licensing policy was there. Actually, in that, the objective was industrial development because that was our national priority at that point of time, and balanced regional development. Okay, and I've told you public sector companies is going to be established in different regions and to reduce inequality. So this is the objective of that. But because of that, only this MRTP came, this licensing and everything. There was a committee, Subiman Dutt Committee, 1967. So this committee have observed the misuse of licensing policy because it created monopoly. Because see, you got license, now you started company, you started growing. It's very difficult for others to get it, right? So now you started enjoying that monopoly. You may prevent them to get license, or there are a lot of malpractices, and to avoid competition, to avoid new companies to come, it affect our growth, right? It affect the regional development. It affect that goal of reducing inequality and everything. So that is the reason why MRTP Act, after this recommendation, MRTP Act was passed in 1969. So See, now there are many policies are there to control all those things. It is not desirable, but that time it was desirable. That's why it was passed, because of misuse of this licensing policy and everything. So you will bribe the officials and they won't give the license. So you enjoy that monopoly, you keep on enjoying the monopoly. So you need to restrict them, regulate them. Okay. So later there was a committee in 2000, SV Raghavan committee. Okay. These are not that important. I'm just telling you the evolution to you. SV Raghavan committee, that is committee on competition policy. Maybe it is important to know how this evolution of competition act. So SV Raghavan committee, committee on competition policy, so proposed the abolish this one. Okay. And Competition Act 2002 was passed. Instead, MRTP Act, Competition Act 2002 was passed. So here, when I talk about Competition Act, it is applicable to all companies. It's a broader one. MRTP is for few companies, MRTP companies, right? I've told you that limit, threshold limit, right? 200 crore or more, like that. Initially 20 crore, then 100 crore, then 200 crore, like that. So here, if you want, you can just write one line, Competition Act. It seeks to create competitive condition in the economy by creating level playing field for all firms. So it is now going to look after all firms. It is going to create competitive conditions so that there will be a proper development and there won't be malpractices and there won't be anti-competitive measures, etc. So if you see that when Geo came, a lot of discussions was there related to Competition Commission. It seeks to check abuse of dominance rather than dominance as such. Before you are talking about this, this guy should not be dominating, right? Now, domination is not a problem. Abuse of dominance is the problem. You are dominant, okay, but you are dominant, and if you misuse it or if you abuse that, then that is going to create problem. So this is now looking for, looking after abuse of dominance rather than dominance as such. You dominate. If you are capable of doing it, you dominate, no problem. But don't abuse that dominance. Okay. It replaced, just write one line, it repealed the MRTP Act and the MRTP Commission, or it replaced MRTP Act and MRTP Commission, and Competition Commission of India was established as regulator after Competition Act. Okay, now Competition Commission of India regulate all companies, not just few companies. Next point related to that is public sector to be confined to socially relevant areas. Okay, so that's it, guys, from this session. We have discussed about all important industrial policy till 1991. I'll talk about analysis of this, our assessment of this policy and everything, and what are these socially relevant area and everything in the next session. Now that 30 minutes time which is given to me is over, I'll be talking about that in the next session. Thank you, guys.